Hello, possums. Dr. Lena here, trying to put on a happy face. Not easy when we've just gone to war globally. Ah, where to begin? Yeah. So, our Prime Minister this morning, this is why I was not excited about Albanese when he got in, even though he got such a huge win being Labour. This is why. And then this morning, he came out and said, "Oh, well, I guess we support the United States because we always do." Ugh. Really, I am having rage fantasies with this scenario. Look, humble admission. Now, why? Why would you do that? And the answer is in the second part of the sentence because we always back the United States. We've been into every conflict since the Second World War as a direct and immediate ally. And as a consequence, we've lost all the wars in the last 80 years alongside the United States. So let's just have a quick catch up, right? So we lost in Vietnam because no one, no amount of firepower, was going to defeat the Viet Cong in the jungle. Then Afghanistan. Afghanistan has swallowed entire empires since Alexander the Great and then Russia, etc. But no, we went in and lost. And as we all remember, the withdrawals were still happening in the latest Biden presidency. You know, another failure, another withdrawal, and now the Taliban is in. And then Iraq, arguably the worst in some ways. It was on a false premise. 4 million Iraqis displaced, a million dead, and leading to the rise of ISIS and so on. We've got to be honest with ourselves and admit we are not good at the Middle East. We're not good at wars in Asia, and we're not good with wars in the Middle East. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And it's partly linguistic. So very few specialists, of course, they employ Arabic speaking specialists and stuff at the CIA and the Pentagon and stuff, but it's not the same as actually understanding cultures and language. And so I am really, in other words, I think the intelligence is bad. You can have all the technical stuff in the world, but the intelligence on the ground has proved over and over to be bad. And I find this particularly upsetting as the child of a veteran and someone who spent years going every day to war hospitals. It upsets me that a new generation is now exposed to these risks because of this aggression. Firstly, by Israel, secondly, by the States, and thirdly, by us going, oh, well, it's not good enough. And in the case of Australia, he didn't have to say outright no, but this is where you use diplomatic language. Well, we hope a ceasefire is brokered soon and that talks can resume. That's when you use your politician waffle speak. Right? That's what it's there for. Arr. So, having launched into all that, I know you guys are fully upset as well, and it's massively confronting all round. But let's try and move on because what is captivating is these perverse alliances now. So instead of agreeing with my own Prime Minister, I'm agreeing with Tucker Carlson and MTG and no foreign wars, please, and preferably not a civil one either. It's bizarre. So the shock jocks like the evil Alex Jones, Charlie Kirk, they're all opposed. So let's have a look. Where will MAGA end up? Will it end up moving away from the Yeti because they really don't like this stuff? Or will they jump completely in bed with the Yeti and dismiss these other right-wing pundits? Or will they split down the middle? Let's have a look. Oh my God. Now let's have a look at MAGA and the Yeti going into another major unending war. They're not called forever wars for nothing. They're still going on. Lived results are still going on. Oh, MAGA. We'll see. Okay. It was easy before. They were very clear. This is a bit funny to me. It's sort of what I would say is not yet, but I'll pull some more cards. This is 2 weeks ago when life was clear for them and the tariffs hadn't really kicked in and things were looking a bit dodgy, but they could still stand by their Fred Flintstone. So this is the new right that's opposed to the Getty. So this is the MTGs and some other Republicans, etc., raising the sword, and they're impulsive in the sense they don't fear him anymore in this moment. Interesting. Because just about everyone was always, oh, what if? There was a fearlessness about that, which is kind of attractive to MAGA in its own way. They're still swallowing false messages from wherever they come. Give me a doozy and I'll swallow it whole. Vaccines are there to kill my children. Yep, I'm signing up, even though I now have a sick child and I can't afford the health insurance. Just give me something to talk about and I'll swallow it. They're getting more emotional about it all. It's starting to kick in. But this has me a bit fox. This is my, well, it shouldn't really. This is my fake GOP card that we are one. And that's being challenged. The GOP, who's that? GOP have been very good at bringing everyone into line when it matters for votes, etc. At this moment, it's being questioned. So let me look at the Italian cards here. Let's have a look. This is the first time it's been questioned. By more than one person. Laura Loomer might be in, might be out, Bannon's in, Bannon's out, but this is the heartland. So let's have a look on the GOP here. Mm. Yeah, no wonder they're confused, right? This is the good wife. So in that sense, the GOP, apart from Rand Paul and those railing against the big bastard of a bill, they've been the compliant partner to the Yeti's excesses. But now they're feeling ripped off. Here's the thief. But the problem with the thief is they thought it was their friend. And now the friend could be looking at prison. So what is this about? Or they could go to prison for being a friend with someone and not someone else. So this would say to me they are finally turning on each other, and these cuts will be deeper than they are now. At the moment, people can say, oh, well, I was listening to Marjorie Taylor Greene and maybe she was right. Oh, well, I was listening to Steve Bannon and things. But they're going to have to come down on one side or the other. So will they back him to the hilt and suddenly wars are good again or not? We'll have to keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, what's the date as we speak? I'm a day ahead of most of the world here. It's June 23rd now. So 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks till the demonic tariffs kick in. So I want to know what's going to happen with those tariffs. All right, let's have a look here. Let's have a look. Don't you love it? Gets voted in, no new wars. 4 months in, brand new one, or the resurrection of an old one. David Packman said during the week something interesting. They don't want a leader, they want a daddy. So just whatever he burbles out. Okay, tariffs, Lena, focus on tariffs. Tariffs. Well, these are the tariff agreements. Sometimes you've got to laugh at tarot. Look, it's got all these cards of conciliation. Right. So let's go to the deep root of the problem originally. This was Trump, aka the Yeti, sitting pretty. It's Peter Navarro. It's all the ones, and there weren't that many of them. You could count them on one hand. Look at this. This was thinking it's okay, just bring in tariffs. People tried to make a deal with this man, but you can't because he has the attention span of a goldfish. Right, you've got the page of ones here. This is people talking. This is big business trying to talk sense to him. So then he goes, well, maybe we won't do it for 90 days. Maybe we'll make them bigger, or maybe we'll make them smaller. All of this, look, both of these are people trying to find out what it is that is happening. And he's just going, I'll get back to you later, right? His famous 2 weeks delay for anything he can't think of at the time. But the hangman does involve sacrifice, so make sure you save your pennies. I suspect the tariffs won't be as grotesque as at their peak, but the problem is not knowing. If you know, you can make a plan. It's a bit like knowing what snake bit you, because if you know which snake, you can go to a hospital and get the anti-venom. If you don't know what snake bit you, not so good an outcome. So at least you want to know the snake. Okay. All right. Now, um, this sort of dovetails back to security in a way here with Japan. So Japan has cancelled its annual security meeting with the US. Japan is not happy because it's so auto-dependent and other things and has a lot of bonds and is being treated badly. So Japan's not happening. But what I want to have a look at here, okay, let's have a look at it from the global allies' perspective. Countries formerly known as allies, we could say, because Iran, it's complicated. Iran is ancient Persia. Israel has 9 million people. Iran has 90 million people and is ancient Persia, always was, always is. If you talk to a modern Iranian somewhere, they will still 9 times out of 10 say, I'm Persian. Okay, so their identity is profoundly strong and rooted in place. Right. Now, Israel makes the claim of what it owns in biblical terms, in terms of the Torah that has been under dispute since the construction of modern Israel. So you have a divergence between, let's say, the hardline armed settler movement that wants the lot and other, maybe more urban Israelis who are more willing to contemplate a two-state solution or whatever. But part of the problem has been, in my opinion, that because the hard line movement has got more and more political power under Netanyahu. It used to be a fringe movement, and there was some resentment, as I understood it, by those in bigger population centres because they don't want their children educated in a secular way, only a religious education, which to me makes it a fundamentalist group. They are armed, and because they've had more power and cachet under Netanyahu, because he needed their numbers and their votes to form the coalition, it has in some ways arguably set modern Israel back, particularly in relation to women's rights and so forth. So you've got this fundamentalist sensibility taking over to the extent that even the Israeli security forces, we think Mossad when we think security, but the domestic version is Shin Bet, have actually identified the settlers as one of the major obstacles to peace and a major obstacle to security in Israel. So these are issues. You can let me know what you think in the comments, but that's as I see it at this point. That is purely my opinion after many years of being engaged with this and now living in a Middle Eastern suburb as well. So I want to look at, will the other allies fall into line behind the US or not? Because Tony Blair bought the weapons of mass destruction, took the UK in, it was never popular. He dragged the UK in. Will Starmer do the same? What's Canada's position going to be? New Zealand manages to stay out of it. Let's see what the allies are saying to each other. I'd really like to know what Albanese's talking about with Carney and Starmer. Let's have a look. Oh, that card came up again. I don't like this passivity here. I think they're all feeling, because every national leader is struggling with usually their economy and their security issues over and over and over, as well as dealing with the opposition. I think all of them thought, oh no, not this on top, not this as well. This is too much. This is the end. This is 10 swords. No more, please. They have had a talk with each other, but I would say they're as gutless as each other. I can't speak for Canada. Forgive me, any Canadians, the newly motivated Canada could be very different. But I'm talking in terms of traditional allies and offering troops. Four of Swords, reclining, thinking about it, too passive for me, and going with what they know, which is the old alliance, the old Commonwealth, the old AUKUS. So they're going to stand behind the Yeti, even though he wouldn't know what AUKUS was. He wouldn't know what the Five Eyes were. He would know nothing. There's never been a less informed head of state. I really don't think so. It's like he was raised in a submarine that didn't have a communications option. just so fixed on his own narcissism. Okay, let's move away from that now. I promise. Something else here. Um, oh, I think there's been another scandalous ICE detention, which was a Santa Ana, I think he's from father, who was bundled by seven masked men into the back of a car, unmarked car. I mean, these are kidnappings, they're extrajudicial kidnapping. This man has three sons. The three sons are all US Marines. And I think these cases are going to rise to the top. You know, they have to. There's so many people who are essentially nameless in this, but that's very, very important. But what I want to know is, are we going to see the back of Stephen Miller? You know, Stephen Miller, sleeps in a coffin for sure, because the ice thing is proving less than popular for the Yeti. And that's the only thing that moves his dial. When 28 people, one after the other, come in and go, oh, this isn't going down very well. Stephen Miller, truly violent. Oh, look, this is the card of the day. It's amazing to me how these cards return and return. People are speaking up in various incarnations, but in this case, I'm getting the Steve Bannon vibe. You know how it is. He knows Trump well enough. You just stay around, you go out of the loop, and then you loop back and you loop back. He's waiting for Stephen Bannon to fall out of favor. There's people are spreading, not necessarily lies about Stephen Miller, but not good news. The Yeti doesn't want to hear it because the advantage for the Yeti of having Stephen Miller is he has ice in his veins and he will do the nasty, every time. So the Yeti at this point doesn't want to hear it, but that he doesn't stick with anything. So let's now roll on because you guys are heading into summer. The next No Kings rally is July 4th, very fitting. But this is advice for you guys. Just the next few days. We can only do a few days at a time. And I really think, guys, in the big picture, it's part of the reason why, as intuitives or clairvoyants or psychics or whatever, I think to a certain extent we are being protected at this time because if we knew 9 years ago, 8 years ago, 7 years ago, so we happening, it's too much. So we can only do it in bite-sized pieces and hold the light. Okay, it's important for each of us to be the bit of positivity. Let's have a look for you guys. Oh, yeah, you're feeling it. Oh, that's nice. Oh, gorgeous. Look, I love this story. It's a whole little story about life and the universe, really. When things are difficult, we tend to struggle on, one foot after the other, missing the light and support and comfort that is on offer. We don't see it because we're just trudging along. Do you see that? Right? So the light here is represented by a conventional Christian church, but the light, I was just talking about light, is symbolic. Don't forget to look at the light. By doing that, you have the energy to be a warrior in your own little world, medium world, or big world. Remember that saying, think global, act local? I think this is action about that. So we have to keep across the big issues, but at the same time, what can you do locally in a small way to help yourself and someone else and a couple of other people? And that's how it grows. It's really important to show the courage. Even if you're feeling like this, I believe we have a spiritual responsibility to dig our way out of the snow and be our best selves. You might need help with that. I know I do. And help for me comes in different forms. Sometimes when I'm spinning completely about the latest outrage, I might ring Marianne from Revealing Like Tarot. We don't speak often, but sometimes, and she's marvelous at talking me down from the ceiling. Or whether it's taking the dogs for a walk or going out in nature, but just looking up, looking out and looking up. I know this from looking after people, very sick people in a hospital context. If you're the primary carer and you're running back and forth with the washing, you're attending the meetings with the doctors, you're interpreting it for the other person, you're going to all the tests, trying to run your own life while you're working, while you're doing this. I know how it is to be stretched. And I'd have to be reminded, look out and look up. Because your world literally shuts down when you're stressed and afraid. It literally shuts down. So you've got to know that and have techniques. And then, speaking of best self, look at this Queen of Wands, divine. This is where you start really making a difference in other people's lives. This is starting out, finding the energy. What do I have to do to have some energy left over you might be a keyboard warrior, or you might be organizing for July 4th, or you might be helping out at the local food bank, or looking for other donors for a food bank because the funding's been cut, or whatever. But you can also do it online. But this is the beginnings of actions. And this is the reward when you really realize you are inhabiting your higher soul self. The Queen of Wands knows how it all works, knows how it all works. This is your higher self. Lots of love, lots of love. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Bye. Ciao.